educational pedagogy. Um, but the way we do it here, and I'll bring up the actual template in just a minute for the backward design, is we start from the learning outcomes that we want the students to have. And you're all familiar with those from our course outlines, where we have the learning outcomes. We carry them over to our syllabi. And then one of the assessments we do at the end of the semester is how close did we come to those learning outcomes, and how effective were the students in showing us that they had mastered the curriculum content we wanted them. But here we're going to identify the student learning outcomes, determine how we will assess the outcomes, and then determine what the classroom activities are that will support the learning outcomes. And you're doing this all the time. Something out of 1231, we know we have to put in a for loop, and they have to show us how a for loop works. So you want them to be able to do a for loop. You're going to assess this by a program they turn in with the for loop, and then there are going to be some classroom activities, a lecture, an in-class activity, and a program where they do a for loop and demonstrate it, for example. So I think you may already be doing some of this. Let me share with you. Let me see if you'll pick this up. Are you now seeing the backwards design template? Did that load
Yes.
up? Okay, good. I'm
Yeah.
always questioning Zoom on refreshing screens. But we have found a paper, and it was cited on the slide that I'll go back to in a minute. It was given to us by Gail Verdi, who you know is at Canes College of Education. And in here, they had this terrific template that we think is actually extremely helpful. So coming up with what you want to have the students learn. That's our desired results, number one. And then moving down to, well, what are we going to do to help them get there? And then finally into a learning plan. And this is available in a blank version if you choose to use it. Our objective at this point is for you, who are experts in the content in your specific classes that we're beginning to move towards for Gender Mag. What is it that we want the students to be able to do, the learning outcome regarding Gender Mag? What is the evidence and the assessment activity that's going to take place in the classroom, or in most cases outside of class, where they can demonstrate to us that they've got that capability? And finally, what is the learning plan that we're going to go after there? So going back here, we're hoping that we will get active learner-centered activities. For example, yesterday when Laura took us through that first facets identification, and we could slide the little blue dots along on the spectrum to determine what kind of facets we were and where we might align on the spectrum. That was kind of interesting and engaging. Obviously, we know each other, but for students who it's an icebreaker, as was mentioned earlier, that's going to be really compelling. And there we want to make sure students are aware of the facets. That's the learning outcome. The way we might assess it is by giving this activity in class and then having them write up a paragraph on a reflection. And then the activities within the class that would help support that would be sharing the template and discussing your own placement on that spectrum, and then moving into the student activity. And this is coming from this planning tool article that came out of a college teaching curriculum article that was identified by Gail.